everyone, my name is Jason Segalis, and I work on first-party identity and audience solutions for Google Ad Manager. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I'd like to talk to you first about first-party identifiers and how they can help you safeguard your programmatic advertising revenue in a privacy-safe way as third-party identifiers become more scarce. I'll focus on publisher-provided identifiers, or PPIDs as we call them, which have been supported in Ad Manager for many years. To start, I'll provide a brief overview of what PPIDs are and how to create them. Then I'll move on to what I really want to talk about today, which is how these first-party identifiers can be shared with Google's programmatic demand platforms to help improve the relevance of the ads you serve your users and maintain the value of your programmatic inventory for buyers. I'll also address some common questions we hear from publishing partners about PPID for programmatic. So let's first start with PPIDs. Now, as I mentioned, these first-party identifiers have been supported in Ad Manager for many years. PPIDs are primarily used to create and manage first-party audience segments in Ad Manager 360. Those segments can be used to provide your direct advertising customers with access to the right users based on what you know about the people that visit your sites and apps. And because PPIDs are created by you, the publisher, based on your first-party identifiers, audience lists built using PPIDs will continue to work even when third-party identifiers, like third-party cookies, are no longer supported. Let's look how publisher might create PPIDs. When a user accesses your web page or app, you may have a way of identifying them across multiple visits or sometimes even multiple devices. Maybe you set a first-party cookie or have an app user ID or a login username, for example. Your first-party identifier can then be translated into a format that can be passed to Ad Manager as part of the ad request. That format is called PPID. Now, if you're interested in learning more about PPIDs and how they can be used to manage your first-party audiences in Ad Manager 360, check out the webinar in the banner below on your screen. Now, let's shift our focus specifically to PPID for programmatic. Think of this as a way to extend the utility of your PPIDs to help with your programmatic monetization. You may be wondering how that works, so let's get into the details. Historically, buy-side programmatic platforms, or DSPs, have relied on third-party identifiers like cookies or device IDs to perform key functions on behalf of advertisers, including satisfying advertiser settings such as frequency caps and serving personalized ads based on interests. The problem is that when third-party cookies or IDs are blocked or restricted, DSPs may be less able to make informed bid decisions or satisfy advertiser campaign settings. This may affect the value of your programmatic inventory. That's potentially bad for your users who may get frustrated by seeing the same ad repeatedly or seeing ads for products or services they have no interest in. This is where publisher first-party identifiers come in. In cases where programmatic bid requests lack a third-party cookie or device ID, publisher first-party identifiers offer a solution. PPID for programmatic allows publishers that already pass PPIDs into Ad Manager 360 to share a publisher-specific version of that first-party ID with Google's programmatic demand platforms, Google Ads, and Display and Video 360. The benefit, if you choose to enable it, is that Google programmatic demand platforms will have access to a unique user ID when no other third-party ID is present. This results in more support for those key buy-side functions I mentioned earlier, frequency capping and the ability to serve more personalized ads to your users on your sites and your apps. Now, that last point is really important. In the spring of 2021, we shared a set of privacy principles that include Google's commitment not to build alternative identifiers or track individuals as they browse across the web, nor will we use those technologies in our products. By design, PPIDs cannot be used to track users across the web because they are only associated with a single publisher's network. Now, let me explain a little bit how that works. First, we require publishers to hash or encrypt any identifier before they pass it to Google. Second, Ad Manager then turns the identifier into a per-publisher partitioned ID, ensuring that PPIDs are specific and unique to the publisher that provided them. We've shared this information in many forums over the last few months. But what does per-publisher partitioning or hashing mean really in practice? Well, it means that a PPID shared from your Ad Manager network will never match a PPID shared from a different Ad Manager network. Simply put, PPIDs cannot be used to build cross-publisher user profiles. I also want to state clearly that Google has no visibility or access into the underlying first-party data behind your identifiers. What you know about your individual users is never exposed when you choose to share PPIDs with Google programmatic platforms. Now, let me address some common questions that we've heard from publishers over the past few months. First, do programmatic advertisers see the PPIDs or somehow capture them? The answer here is a simple no. When you opt into PPID for programmatic, the IDs, again, publisher-specific IDs, are only used by Google's demand platforms in the background to help inform bid responses for your inventory on behalf of advertisers and buyers. Individual buy-side platform users do not interact with PPIDs directly and do not have access to it. They may not even know they're present. Another question we hear a lot is, how do PPIDs enable personalization of ads when other third-party identifiers aren't present? Let me try to explain this in more detail. When no third-party identifier is available, access to a publisher-specific PPID allows Google's programmatic demand platforms to potentially develop an understanding of the user's interests or behaviors over time. But remember, because PPIDs are unique to your network, the understanding of the user is based on the user's visitation across your site and your apps only. And critically, that information can only be used to inform bid responses and serve more relevant personalized ads on your sites, on your apps only. Here, I think an example might be helpful. First, for the sake of simplicity, let's jump to a future where no third-party identifiers are available. Imagine a user visits a gardening website frequently. The gardening site recognizes the user based on past visits and passes the user's assigned PPID into Ad Manager. In this case, PPID 456ABC. As I mentioned earlier, this ID is primarily used by the publisher to build and manage first-party audiences. By opting into PPID for programmatic, the publisher chooses to make a publisher-specific version of that PPID available to Google demand platforms. Now, over time, Google demand platforms may detect this same PPID in bid requests from the gardening site's Ad Manager network and begin to understand a bit about the user, what time of day they typically visit the site, what types of content they read while there. Here we see that the user has shown an interest in growing vegetables and organic farming. The publisher-specific PPID helps the bidding platform more effectively select the best advertiser and creative to serve to the user while they're on the gardening site. With the help of a unique user ID, the demand platform returns an ad that is more relevant to the user based on their inferred interest on the gardening site. Now, who benefits in this situation? Well, first of all, the user. While on the gardening site, the user may experience more relevant ads for products or services they're interested in at a controlled frequency, all without being tracked across the web. Second, the gardening site. The publisher increases programmatic yield by enabling the bidder to more effectively reach audiences with personalized ads and provides the readers with a better user experience. The demand platform. Now, the demand platform is better able to source the right inventory for their advertisers and meet their ad frequency goals. This likely leads to better advertiser performance on the gardening site. To round out this example, imagine that the same user accesses a different publisher's website, let's say a travel site. The travel site publisher may also recognize the user and pass their own PPID to Ad Manager and make that available to Google's demand platforms. In this case, PPID XYZ123. Because the PPID is specific to the travel site, it cannot be matched against the gardening site's PPID. That means the profile of the user on the gardening site cannot be used to inform bidding on the travel site, even though it's the same user. To be clear, this same user on a different publisher site would never be recognized as the same user based on the PPID, because PPIDs are unique to each network. To sum up, when sharing your PPIDs with Google Programmatic Demand, buyer frequency capping and interest-based ads personalization can be used to inform bidding on your inventory only, potentially increasing your programmatic revenue and improving ad performance and user experience on your sites and apps. PPID for programmatic offers a way to provide a first-party identifier to programmatic bidders when no third-party IDs are available. And because it's a first-party identifier that you set, it's durable over time as third-party cookies become more scarce. PPID for programmatic helps you future-proof your programmatic yields. I hope you found today's session informative. Please see the Ad Manager Help Center for more details about PPIDs and PPID for programmatic. Thanks for your time. Really glad you came.